I call on Government Order of the Day number 6.
Drug and alcohol testing of community-based offenders and Bailees legislation bill, second reading.
Speaker.
The Honourable Paseta Sam Lotu-Iiga.
I move that the drug and alcohol testing of community-based offenders and Bailees legislation bill be now read a second time. Whakalofalai atu, Mr Speaker. The bill received its first reading in February of this year and was referred to the Law and Order Committee. And I'd like to thank the Chairman of that committee, Kanwaljit Singh Bakshi, and the members of the committee for their consideration of this bill and the sensible changes that have been recommended. Sir, this bill will enable corrections and police to require Bailees and community-based offenders to undergo alcohol and drug testing to ensure compliance with their conditions. These conditions, of course, being the prohibition of the use of alcohol and drugs. These conditions are imposed by the courts as a condition of bail or a community-based sentence, or by the parole board as a condition of release or an extended supervision order. And they are imposed, sir, to reduce the risk of reoffending by that individual. Current legislation does not provide a clear authority for corrections and police to test offenders and Bailees with these conditions for the prohibition of the use of alcohol or other drugs. And the bill addresses this problem by creating a legislative mandate for testing of these offenders and Bailees. In practice, sir, resources will be focused on testing those people who pose the highest risk of causing serious harm if they were to use alcohol or drugs. And the bill allows rules about testing methods and procedures to be made by the Chief Executive of the Department of Corrections and the Commissioner of Police. And these rules will be guided by the principles which are set out in the bill, namely that testing should be no more intrusive than is reasonably necessary. Secondly, that testing should take place no more often than is reasonably necessary. And thirdly, that those being tested are afforded as much privacy and dignity as is consistent with the purpose of that testing. It's well known, sir, that drug and alcohol misuse is a major driver of crime. The ability to test offenders and Bailees for alcohol and drug use will provide both corrections and police with a useful tool to counteract the harm that substance abuse plays in contributing to offenders in our communities. Drug and alcohol testing will complement the significant effort that corrections has put into increasing offenders' access to drug and alcohol treatment. In recent years, particular emphasis has been placed on improving access to programs for remand and short-serving prisoners and the delivery of brief interventions to offenders in the community by probation staff. Successful interventions to address an offender's substance abuse problems can make a significant difference in that person's life and in that person's family's lives. And I recently announced, sir, that corrections will spend over $8.6 million over the next 3 years to develop and deliver a drug and alcohol post-release program. We have a range of drug and alcohol treatment programs available in prison, sir, but I think we can do much more in the community to support released prisoners to leave substance abuse behind and live better lives free of crime. This new program to promote rehabilitation, along with drug and alcohol testing to promote compliance, will work together to tackle drug and alcohol abuse in our communities and reduce reoffending. Sir, the Law and Order Committee has reported the bill back to the House with a number of improvements that will enhance the effectiveness of this regime. And I'd like to just briefly mention 4 of those significant amendments. First, the bill now includes powers to test for psychoactive substances, which, as you know, has been the scourge of society. And of police detainees who have experienced problems related to drug and alcohol use, 8% attribute their substance abuse problems to synthetic cannabis use. Amending the bill to allow testing for psychoactive substances reflects the adverse effects these products can have on users and their relationship with their offending. Secondly, the bill has also been amended to ensure that corrections and police will be able to test drug and alcohol conditions imposed before the bill was enacted that are still in effect at the time of the enactment. This was previously unclear in the bill as it was introduced to the House, and this amendment will help to enhance public safety by ensuring that this category of people can be tested. Thirdly, a new part has been inserted into the bill to allow for the testing of people on protective supervision orders who have a condition prohibiting the use of alcohol and drugs. Protective supervision orders were introduced as part of the public protection order regime, which was enacted into law in December of last year, sir. And this amendment will help to strengthen the compliance with that regime. Finally, an amendment has been made in relation to the penalties for non-compliance with the testing regime in the bail context. So the bill creates an offence of refusing entry to an authorised person for purposes relating to continuous monitoring equipment. This enables the deployment of technologies that provide for remote monitoring of alcohol use. The Law Society's submission on the bill as introduced noted that the penalties for committing this particular offence were unduly harsh for Bailees. But the bill has subsequently been amended to treat this offence as a breach of bail conditions, which is consistent with the existing approach to bail. The committee has also made a number of other really sensible and more minor technical amendments to the bill in response to submissions and advice from officials. To sum up, sir, breaking the cycle of substance abuse and crime is crucial to the government's goal of reducing reoffending. This bill will make an important contribution towards this goal and, as a consequence, enhance public safety and security. That is why I commend this bill to the House for kauelahi.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. The Honourable Phil Goff.
Mr.